Flash here coming at you today from Raid Shadow Legends. Welcome to the video, guys. I'm glad to have you all here today. Send us some love, some positive vibes your way, especially if you need it out there today. Today, we're going to do our once-a-year rare ranking video. The big rare countdown from 15 all the way to numero uno. Who is the best rare in the game? It's probably not going to be a shocker to you guys.
I share this with you, Matt.
But I will say, a lot of the other names on the list have either flip-flopped, like a lot of rare champions that I had a lot lower last year are actually a lot higher this year, especially number 2 on the list and a few others. Moreover, just the way that I look at rares have changed a lot in this game, going back to 2019 when I started the channel. Back in 2019, a lot of our main teams revolved around a lot of these rare champions, and it's become more, you know, those rares are still great, but they become a little bit more niche, especially as you get to the mid game and the end game, you know, for restrictive content in Doom Tower or as boss specialists, again, with some exceptions. So before we jump into the list, I did want to just mention here that I'm not going to include all 4 of the starting champions because, frankly, I think that they're all top 10 rares in the game, with the exception of Galek, who I put top 20, but not top 10, unfortunately. But I think that they're all very good, you know. I think that they're all, for their own reasons, Kale, Elhain, and Aethel are all really good. I think Kale is exceptionally good in the early game and even in the mid game, and then I think that Aethel and Elhain are a bit better in the end game because of their AoEs, or in Aethel's case, an extra turn ability to get back to the AoE a little bit sooner. Galek I've never been a massive fan of, but he's definitely not trash champion either. All right, guys, starting in at number 15 on the list, How the Mighty Have Fallen. I really still love Relic Render. She's one of my personal favorites, but you know, they've added a freaking ton of cleansers to the game. Who is your go-to cleanser? I mean, I think probably the most famous of them is Mithrala Lifebane, who we get just from basically farming and participating in Hydra Clan Boss. There's a lot more cleansers than there used to be. You know, years ago when I thought Relic Render was one of the top rares in the game. I think I had her number 3 a couple years ago on my overall ranking. That being said, she has a full cleanse and a big continuous heal on a 3-turn cooldown and a revival, a pretty crappy revival, but a revival nonetheless. So I put her at number 15 on the list. At number 14 on the list, we have, speaking about this guy quite a bit because I have a thing for a Bizzle, guys. I really do. He's grown on me.
Makes you think you might not be the center of the universe after all.
I didn't have him at all on last year's list, and you know, he's creeping up the rankings, primarily because, well, not just because, but he does have an AoE on the A1 with a nice 30% or 35% with the sniper mastery of block buffs. I love block buffs, generally speaking, especially against wave content where you're dealing with, well, a lot of buffers, right? So he can mitigate that. More importantly, he's great in a stun set with the Void Gaze being an AoE on his A1 ability, and there just happens to be a lot of rare only content and rare spirit only content in Doom Tower, so he's very viable in multiple areas. On top of that, he heals your team, which is great on an A2, and he's bringing increased defense and increased attack. Granted, they're the weak versions. It's on a 4-turn cooldown. It's not ideal, but we're talking about a rare that you'd probably be using in cases where you don't have access to other champions, certainly not with both of these buffs on the same ability. So Bizzle, I think you put it all together, I really like this little wizard. He's really grown on me. Really cool champion. All right, coming in at number 13 on the list is none other than my man, Muk Stalker. So I think with Muk Stalker, we could almost put a tie with Muk Stalker and Metal Shaper because they're so similar against different bosses. They're super niche. They really don't have any use case outside specific bosses. On Metal Shaper, he has a 2-turn shield, perfect for Scarab King. And on Muk Stalker, he has a 2-turn cooldown on a sleep that lasts for 2 turns. So again, both specialists, one for Scarab King in Metal Shaper, excuse me, and Muk Stalker in Sand Devil. So I like both of these lizards. They can certainly help out a lot of players out there. Very niche champions, but very very serviceable, better than serviceable. They excel. I would say they're both A tier in their specific areas of expertise. And a lot of times, as I said at the top, you know, that's kind of all we want. We want them to excel at least one area better than other rares and a lot of epic champions too, right? And even some legendary champions for that matter. All right, coming in at number 12 on the list is actually a brand new champion. Well, not brand new, but new as of last year. And it's Petrifia Rockroot. She's a very cool champion. She's a really good addition to an unkillable team for extra damage in clan boss, or just a clan boss poison team in general, right? A lot of people compare her favorably to Frozen Banshee. I still pick Frozen Banshee ahead of her, as you'll see in just a moment.
This bitch, please.
It's really because Frozen Banshee, I think she has a much better A1, and A1s are just, they're so good. You know, you can counterattack with them, you can retribution with them, etc., etc. So she does have a decreased defense, a big version on her A1, which is nice. It's not a huge land rate on this ability, but she does have the big version, excuse me, the small version at 100% of decreased attack as well, okay? It's an AoE ×2 on a 3-turn cooldown, so you can actually, you know, use this outside of clan boss as well, this ability. She has a decreased attack and a poison, 75% poison on a 3-turn cooldown on the A3. Rot Pulse attacks 3 times at random. Now against clan boss, each hit has a poison sensitivity for 2 turns, a 40% chance or 45 with the sniper mastery. It's not bad considering it's a triple hitter. And if all hits land on the same target, we also get the big version of poison. So big version of poison here, we get the big version of poison here, and then we get the big version, potentially, of decreased defense here. We also have, again, poison sensitivity. So she's bringing a lot to the table. Again, very comparable, I would say, to Frozen Banshee, who actually comes in next. Frozen Banshee, excuse me, is coming in at number 11 on the list. Good old Frozen Banshee. I still think she's a bit better than Petrifia.
You ruined everything.
What do you guys think? As I said, her A1 is a 2-time hitter. Each hit has a chance of placing a big version of poison, so 2 big poisons, provided they're under poison sensitivity, which she has on her A3. Big version, obviously, poison sensitivity on a 3-turn cooldown. What more can you ask for? Well, she does have some turn meter fill of all allies for each debuff on the target on Cruel Exaltation. Sometimes people will turn this ability off, or she doesn't use it on auto, just to keep your speed tuning, you know, in aligned for your clan boss team. But heck, in progression, you can absolutely use this for some excellent turn meter fill, in addition to her poisons and her poison sensitivity. Coming in at number 10 on the list is another new addition, and I love this guy. I was looking at some tier lists, and man, they are so down on Tree Shield Not. He is my favorite, by far, rare reviver in the game. He has really decent base stats, excuse me, over 1,000 defense, 101 speed, 16k on the HP. He's got a triple hitter on the A1 with a decreased attack, so really good for Fire Knight progression, of course, or Fire Knight in general. He has a heal on everybody on a 3-turn cooldown, and he brings increased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. Now, it is the weak version of decreased defense, but just as we spoke about with a Bizzle, sometimes that's better than no version, right? It's really a lot better than no version. So I really love that kit. It's a nice support ability, increased defense and a heal. And of course, not 1, but 2 revivals on 1 ability, a la like a Caden. As a rare though, it's really good, right? He's the only rare in the game that can revive more than 1 ally, you know, on his whole kit. So 2 random allies, 25% HP, 25% turn meter, which sucks. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but he does have a shield equal to 20% of their max HP, so hopefully you can get back around and heal them with the A2 as well. He also brings speed in faction crypts, which is helpful because Sylvan Watchers is obviously the newest faction at the time of this recording. Tree Shield Not, I love him. Coming in at number 9. Number 9 on the list is going to be, I'm so cheeky with these ties. I apologize. Some of you guys give me grief about it in the comments. You can't tie, just make it the top 17 or 16, Ash. Come on, man. But I can't help it.
One more time, young man. One more time. I'm going to make sure you sleep for a long, long time. You knock it off.
Bellor. I like the clean numbers, man. AoE on every ability. He's still a great campaign farmer. He's a great control champion in a stun set. He's a great debuffer. He has decreased speed. He has block active skills. He has decreased attack and decreased defense. They're all the weak versions but he brings so much to the table, right? And again, you can build him as a damage dealer, you can build him as a control champion, there's a lot of flexibility in a kit like this, so he's still got it. So Bellor comes in tied number 9, and it's very difficult, I think, to rank this next champion, and it is Renegade. Where is she? Right in front of my face somewhere. There she is. Renegade. I mean, decrease the cooldown of all ally skills by 2 turns on a 5-turn cooldown. She's a little mini Prince Kymar, a little mini, Yumeko, whatever. A reset cooldown ability rare. A lot of people use her, especially if they don't have access to those other champions. She can be the motor behind a lot of teams out there. Coming in at number 9 on the list, guys, is going to be good old Felhound. Felhound is not only the best campaign farmer inside the entire game with a strong AoE on the A1, he's easy to build, which is nice too. He's still my campaign farmer because his animation is so fast, right? There's a lot of other champions that can campaign farm really just as good as Felhound, but his animation is so fast on that A1 that it really gives him, I think, the best time in the game. I want to say it's still the best time in the game, or at least is very, very close. For a rare champion, again, that's great. Moreover, he's really good at Fire Knight progression. He does have a 1-time hitter on the A1. However, he does have a continuous heal and a reflect damage. More notably, though, that reflect damage is on a 2-turn cooldown, and it lasts for 2 turns. So you can keep that up basically all the time, and that reflect damage will obviously help you against that Fire Knight shield. So I think he has a lot of utility, and just excelling in one area is great. But also, and he has block damage on an ally for 1 turn, kind of a nice add-on to his kit as well. Someone's in trouble, throw him a block damage, right? I have to be real though about Felhound. I actually have not used him outside of campaign farmer personally. Maybe once, like upon a time in a guide or something like that, but that's about it for me. But you guys let me know if you ever relied on him in an area of the game like Fire Knight or whatnot. All right. Another guy at number 7 that I am a massive outlier on, guys. I really, really am. Kurzad Depart is so unbelievably lowly ranked on every tier list that I found out there, and I can't figure out for the life of me if I'm just too high on this dude or if everybody else is too low on this dude. But I stand by it because I keep ranking him high on my list. He's at number 7. He's got a decreased speed. His extra hit, the attack is critical. The extra hit places a decreased speed for 2 turns. Big version of decreased speed on the A1. That's an epic ability, and he's got it as a rare. That's really, really good, especially for bosses. He has an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown on the A2 and an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown on the A3. Now, yeah, a lot of books on this dude, but it's rare books. How many rares are we maxing out there? I guess the bummer about the books is like, look at this crap. It all goes to damage. I'm not a fan of that, I can't lie. Either way, though, each critical hit fills his champion's turn meter by 7.5%. It's not a great ability. There's like Shield Guard, an uncommon with an ability, better than this, frankly. But it is an AoE on a 3-turn cooldown that deals a decent amount of damage for a rare champion. His attack is not bad for a rare at 1343. It's kind of in line with the starter champions, which are notably good compared to other rares. But that turn meter fill is nice because it can get him back to more AoEs. And I love this dude in a stun set because he's got two strong AoEs on a 3-turn cooldown. He was the first champion. I feel like I say this every time I mention this dude, right? For years now. But he was the first champion in the game that had increased accuracy on all allies, big version, right? First champion in the entire game to ever have increased accuracy buff at all when it was introduced was actually Stag Knight on his pinpoint accuracy passive. But Kurzad, a rare, was the first to have it as a AoE buff, similar to Frozen Banshee being the first rare in the game, or the first champion in the game, excuse me, to ever have poison sensitivity in her kit too. Anyway, increased accuracy on all allies on a 2-turn for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, perfect. Also, it's a 100% chance of placing a decreased defense on all enemies. And again, that's the weak version, but for the 15th time in this video, if you don't have any version, a weak version is tremendous in this game. So Kurzad is one of my go-tos, man. I love this little fella, and I think he looks so cool too. I love the orange beard. Matches my shirt, kinda. What do you say?
You know what I see?
If you haven't been able to tell over the years here, by the way, Goonies is my favorite movie of all time. Very nostalgic reasons, me and my brothers and growing up and blah, blah, blah. And this year, I'm going to Astoria, Oregon, to visit. That's how nerdy I am, ladies and gentlemen. Not only do I make mobile gaming videos on Raid Shadow Legends, but I also visit the filming location of my favorite films. So at number 6, we do have a tie, guys, because again, why not, right? Why not? And this is a brand newcomer to the game, and boy, am I excited about this one, guys. So excited that in a day or two, I will have a full guide on this rare champion here on the channel, and it's none other than Longsword Turox. He's a Knight Revenant dude. We don't know what he looks like. He's fully armored, clad. He has a lot of armor on him. The reviews are very, very good on this dude. One of the best rares released in as long as I can remember. He's defense-based on his A1. Festering Claymore has a 45% chance of placing a leech when booked. Again, defense-based. On the A2 and AoE, increased defense on all allies on a 3-turn cooldown. It's the weak version, but then has a, 65% chance of placing a provoke on everybody for 1 turn. Really, really strong ability there. 3-turn cooldown, 65% chance to provoke, and he smacks too. That's the cool thing, right? You add all that control, the buffing to your team as well, and the increased defense obviously buffs his own damage as well, so it's like dual purpose there. And then that's his only active ability. You can throw him in a flex set as well. And then Blade Breaker, his passive. The active effect is place a block damage buff on this champion for 1 turn if the incoming damage exceeds 20% of this champion's max HP. The passive effect, which is not on a cooldown, counterattacks when hit by an enemy under a provoke debuff, thus placing more leeches, thus helping to heal him at the same time. He also brings defense in dungeons by 25%. Man, Longsword Turox, I'm happy they actually released a rare, worth really looking into in a lot of different areas in the game. So be on the lookout for that video really soon. Coming in at number 6 on the list is going to be none other than the OG Apothecary. Apothecary is so good. Still, he really is one of the few rares that really just hasn't been power crept that much. I guess in a way he has, because listen, increased speed and a turn meter fill, we can get that all over the place in the game now. And back in the day, this was a very special ability. There weren't many legendaries who had a speed boost ability like this in the game. So Apothecary was widely used. Not just this ability, though, the boon of speed in the arena and areas like that, but also he has a critical heal on a 2-turn cooldown. There's still, I think, only 2 champions in the game who can pull off a critical heal. That's really cool, and one of them is Apothecary. And then he has a 3-time hitter on the A1, which makes him beautiful for Fire Knight progression. You put that all together with good base stats and a lot of speed, a lot of defense, decent amount of HP, and then the aura. Defense in dungeons by 21% can help keep your team alive. He's still one of the dominant rare supports in the game who can help out most accounts that are in progression mode, right, through dungeons. All right, number 5 on the list. By the way, I kind of saw her here and I'm like, geez, I should have found a way to get Eris on the list, just for her clan boss utility with this ability. Remove the stun from the clan boss and then place increased speed on everybody, shout out, honorable. Coming in at number 4 on the list is another free campaign farmable champion, and of course it is War Maiden. She's still up there. As a matter of fact, I think she's actually climbed up the rankings a little bit. She's still incredibly unique. She's still the only rare in the game with an AoE big version of decreased defense, the most essential damage debuffs in the game, and she's got it. War Maiden is still a beast. She can, you can farm her in campaign. You can get her for free. She's fairly easy to kind of book up and build out. She's a little bit squishy. You have to kind of plan for that, keeping her alive, of course. But man, at the end of the day, she can really just exponentially get more damage out of everybody else on your team and allow you to clear content faster and, easier than you would without her, right? So she's also one of the best arena debuffers in the super early game as well. She can dish out some damage, as I mentioned. She got a little poison on the A1 too. What do you think on War Maiden? She's number 5 on the list, by the way. Do you think she's too high on my list, or do you guys agree with that ranking on War Maiden? Coming in at number 4 on the list here, guys, we do not have to go very far, because talk about somebody who I feel like she should be even higher. One of my favorite rares in the game, probably probably my personal favorite rare in the game. It's Soulbound Bellor. She's so amazing, man. She really is. She's got a little bit of like an Bizzle with an AoE on the A1, right? She has an extra 25% chance of inflicting a critical hit on all of her abilities. She is my favorite control rare inside the entire game. Not just because of the AoE on the A1 and the stun set, but also she's a hard-hitting A2 here. She's ignoring 75% of the target's defense, right? Her base attack doesn't scale that well, so it doesn't hit as hard as it might sound, ignoring 75% of defense, but it still hits pretty hard. And then she has a 100% turn meter depletion on her A3 and a 4-turn cooldown. So, man, I love Soulbound. I ride her hard, ladies and gentlemen, in Doom Tower content especially. Anytime I can use Soulbound, I do. I think she's incredible. I use her in Curse City. She's just such a good control champion. And again, a good combination of damage, full turn meter depletion, and an AoE on the A1. Easy to build for damage because you can put crit damage on the gauntlets even as an early game player because your threshold of crit rate is only going to be 70% if you have the mastery. So 75 with them, you know, including the mastery. That's not that difficult nowadays in the game to pull off, right? Easy to build. I love it. Coming at number 3 on the list, this might shock some of you guys in terms of how high she is on the list, but it's actually none other than Painkeeper. Yeah, I put Painkeeper all the way at number 3. She's just grown on me, man. She's very good. She's a lot of base HP for a rare. You know, she's an HP base champion, so she ought to. She's a little light on the defense, though, I will say. But it's no matter. She has a double attack on the A1. They need to fix this and get the attack off of it. I mean, an HP-based champion whose damage scales off of defense and attack. What sense does that make, Clarion?
I don't know. There's a lot of things I do I can't explain.
Come on, man. Now we're getting there, getting closer. HP and attack on the A2. Honestly, this is a really good heal. And this is the thing that a lot of people overlook on Painkeeper. It's really one of the best rare heals in the game because it's based off her HP, which scales so well, especially for a rare. So I've seen players really make a lot of progress with her. I have a friend in real life who plays Raid. He's not free to play, but he's a super low spender, maybe like a couple $100 a year, you know? And he relies on Painkeeper a lot in a lot of areas, you know? And it kind of got me thinking like he could pull off some enormous heals with the A2. He puts her in a shield set, so stacks up a lot of HP in a shield set or a bolster, depending on what you have access to. And then you're getting really good heals and really good support. And of course, what she's known for is the combat tactics, decrease the cooldown of all ally skills by 1 turn. I mean, some of the, you know, even some of the fastest teams you see out there include like 1 or 2 or 3 even Painkeepers. I've seen some Iron Twins teams with like 3 or 4 Painkeepers. So this ability is exceptionally good as well because of the cooldown, you know, being a 4-turn cooldown is really, really good. She's also a crucial component of a lot of clan boss teams. So there's a lot of reasons that I, you know, hopefully outlined pretty well as to why I think Painkeeper is just a really, really good all-around champion. A lot of different utility in different situations as well. Coming in at number 2 on the list. Oh, this is as I alluded to in the very beginning of the video, this is a champion that he was so low last year, and it's Narl Horn. He's number 2 on the list now, guys. The more I think about Narl Horn, like you can't make a case he's number 1 because no one's touching that pedestal.
You make me feel like
Who the hell are you?
But Narl Horn, man, he's so good. He really has one of the best provokes out there in the game. Well, I don't want to say in the game. Certainly out of any rare. And even off of most epics, he has one of the best provokes. It's an AoE, and it can't weak hit because there's no hit. You know? It's just placing that provoke on everybody. It's super, super dependable. And then he places an increased defense on himself as well. He also has unkillable on himself for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown, which is definitely helpful to keep him alive too, because he takes a lot of incoming damage. But, you know, listen, this is great everywhere. It's great in secret rooms, great in restrictive content. It's great in progression anywhere in the game. He has defense in dungeons by 27%. That's a big, that's like a legendary-esque almost aura. That's very, very good. But Ram, his A1, is actually the ability that really catapulted him up from, I think he was like around 8 or 9 or 10 to number 2. He's really one of the best and most crucial Phantom Shogun's Grove champions in the game. Why? It's very simple. This Ram ability, it cannot be strong, critical, and it cannot weak hit. The fact that it cannot weak hit, what it does is it allows that counter to stay the same on the Phantom Shogun, and it really reduces the burden of every player, to have a bunch of high awakenings on the rest of the entire squad. So for that reason, and his overall just utility with that provoke, it really, to me, he's a number 2. He's number 2. And of course, everything's subjective here, guys. It depends on what you need and what area of the game. I'm just kind of playing the game of, you know, Plarium comes to me and asks me what champions I want to start an account. These are who I'm going to go with here. Before we get to the obvious number 1, I just wanted to point out a couple of my faves that just barely didn't make the list. I love Executioner. He's got a great control kit. It's a 3-turn cooldown. He's defense-based, so he's easy to keep alive. He has decreased turn meter by 20% and a weak version of decreased speed. He's bringing a counterattack on himself where he can go in to land more stuns off the A1. Man, I look at that kit again, and I'm like, maybe I should have put him on the list. Golly, that's really strong. Another one is Ashwalker. I'm a big fan. Go figure. He's got a lot of base attack for a rare, almost 1,500. That might be the highest out of any rare in the game. He has an AoE with a weak version of Weaken, and then he has a stun and turn meter on everybody else. So a really high single target stun, granted on a 4-turn cooldown, but a really high chance, what, a 85% chance of landing it? Very good. And then decrease the turn meter of all enemies by 10% if the attack is critical. It's a very, very good control kit. He has a resetting Devastator as well, which is the stun ability if you kill somebody with his A1. Really love me some Ashwalker. Anybody else who I forgot? Yeah, probably a billion, because like anybody from Valerie to a Marked. Yeah, Marked is very good too. She has an increased defense and a block debuffs on a 3-turn cooldown. That's very strong for a rare. Still, to this day, she's still one of the better ones out there. So those are some of my favorites for honorable mentions, guys. Let's get to number 1 on the list, and it's going to be, of course, Coldheart. Coldheart still remains the only rare in the game that really can stand toe-to-toe with legendary champions, you know? Better than the majority, more used than the majority of legendary champions in the game. Why? It's pretty simple. She's got a quadruple hitter on the A1 with a big version of heal reduction. This makes her really one of the better Fire Knight. I use her as my main Fire Knight hard heal reduction champion. On my main Fire Knight hard 10, the most difficult dungeon in the game, arguably, she's a quintessential piece of that team. 4 hits, big version heal reduction. It's a 35% chance, or 40 with Sniper Mastery, but it's on every hit, so it's very dependable. She has a strong AoE on the A2 with decreased accuracy, a pretty hard debuff to find, and then of course Heartseeker. All that damage, enemy max HP, and 100% turn meter reduction. I mean, what else do I have to say about her? You can use her, you know, anywhere from Dark Fae to Fire Knight to basically half the bosses in the game. She's really, really good. Spider, you know, she's just so good, and she remains just as good as she was 3 years ago. She remains that way to this day. Guys, that's my list. Let me know who I snubbed. That's one of your favorite rares in the comments below. Much love, and as always, take care, guys.